Welcome to the Feist.
Everything you want to know about your favorite women's sports in one feisty hour.
With your feistiest friends,
Kelly O'Mara
and Sarah Gross.
And I'm actually today hoping we take less than an hour because the sun is setting.
We have to finish before the light disappears. That's our goal for today.
That's our goal.
It's good to have goals.
And today we are talking about the spending power of female sports fans, the epic Red Bull Rampage. We have an interview with one of the writers. But first, finish line proposals.
Finish line proposals. Okay, so anyone who's been around in the Sarah and Kelly ecosystem for a little while probably can guess how we feel about finish line proposals. But I have to say it was
Jeanne.
Is she French? Jeanne Lehair was proposed to.
She's actually Luxembourgian.
Oh, she is?
Yes, but she's very French.
Okay, I'm pronouncing it like a French name, but okay. And she got her proposal. She won Supertri.
She won the Supertri grand final, won the series, lots of money. And then her, I assume boyfriend, I assume this wasn't random, comes up behind her on the podium. And like, she obviously knows something's happening. Like the crowd's cheering and proposes. And it went super viral in Europe. It was like on TNT Sports over there. Yeah. Very big. And so I'm not a big fan. If somebody did it to me, I'd be like, have we met? But I'm in the camp of like, if she's into it,
she was into it.
If she's into it, great.
That's it. You have to know your partner. You have
to know if
you're going to propose, this is because a lot of people do this, right? They go to a marathon, their partner's running a big event, whether they're a pro or not, and they, you have to know your partner well enough to know if the finish line proposal is something that they want. So if you're proposing to Kelly or myself, then
if that happens,
if you just happen to be,
my husband would be surprised.
Then don't do it at the finish line of the biggest event of our year. I would like that moment to just be about that moment. But if you're someone like Jeanne, who is into it, then
she was into it. She seemed into it.
Yeah.
I will say it does seem like tide has shifted on these because it used to be like, oh, that's so cute. And all the comments now are like, why is he stealing her moment? Why is he getting up in her space? Like, let her have her time.
But yeah, she seemed to like, now I'm going to defend her.
I know. That's why I'm like, okay, guys, let's all come down. If she's into it, she's into it. You have to know your person. So there was a lot of sports this weekend, though. Euro cycling champs, which feels funny coming after the World Cycling Championships.
Oh yeah, that is odd timing. It's probably to do with venues and who's hosting and when they can host and that kind of stuff.
And then because Europe being Europe, it's still like a very big event, for cycling. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, I feel like I don't want to say it was bigger, but
it felt bigger than Worlds
for the European cyclists. So Demi Vollering won, Kasia was third. And there were all these headlines that was like, Demi Vollering wins her first major title of the year. And you're like, I'm pretty sure she won like some of the European classics this spring.
Yeah.
So it's like, clearly it's a big deal in Europe.
Because it's a European championship. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. And didn't she go with like 38K to go?
Yeah, she just
that's
took
a
off.
Long way out to be like,
I don't know,
going off the front.
So I was like, I don't know.
It's in K. That's like a little over 20, like 21 miles.
Okay. That's a lot.
That's a long way to still have to ride. Yeah.
I also was thinking though, here's my thought. So Demi Vollering the past couple of years has been like all in, all eggs in the basket for Tour de France Femmes. And it hasn't worked out for her the last 2 years, which is like, because shit doesn't always work out in sports, right? Like you can have everything lined up and it still has to come together on the day.
Yes.
Now for women, female athletes, historically, it's been like, well, shit, that was your chance. Like that was
it.
You get, like,
also, because you only
there
have
is
the
only
Olympics
one event.
once every
you only
4
have the
years.
Olympics, you only have the one thing.
Right. When there are less women's sports just generally happening with prize money and big crowds and all.
And so now I'm like, maybe because like athletes at some level, like pro athletes, you talk to them. We're in Kona at the Ironman World Championships. We'll talk about it in a second. I've been thinking about this. And athletes at some level do understand that like good days, bad days, like you go on to the next one.
Yeah.
But when you have to put all your eggs in one basket, it's very emotional. And maybe there's some level now that like, especially in women's cycling, they're starting to have like more baskets.
More baskets. I love that. You can put your eggs in a variety of baskets. I do like that. Honestly, it takes the pressure off a little bit, which for some athletes does help them perform too. So you could have a more variety of winners if you have, for people who feel the pressure and tend to crumble.
Sure.
Which we know those
happens,
people exist.
It happens. Yeah. So anyway, that was this weekend. We've been joking it's championship season every weekend right now. So I feel like we have to give a shout out to like, it was the para track and field world championships in India. very
in
hard.
India.
Yeah, they were in India.
Okay.
New Delhi.
Because
Very
we also have
hard.
the Cricket World Cup in India.
Also the Women's Cricket World Cup. It's
week
a big
for
week for
sports
India.
women's sports in India.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But the para is a little hard to find results. I feel like para sports, and I've talked to some of the people who are like working to start these outlets covering para sports,
Right.
are kind of where like women's sports was maybe 5 years ago in terms of coverage and the way they're treated. They're treated as like inspirational.
Right.
And I like could not find results. I was like, I just want to know like the results, you know?
Where did you find them? Because you've written them on our run list here, I can see.
Well, right. So the other thing is that para sports are overseen not by the IOC or World Athletics, but by the IPC. It's like a totally different.
Okay.
So that's what makes it complicated.
Right.
But yeah, it was very challenging.
Yeah.
They had it on their YouTube, but other than that, it's very hard to like find.
Right.
And I just want to give a shout out to Catherine Debrunner because she won 5 events.
Oh, wow.
She's a wheelchair athlete. She won 5,000, 1,500, 800, 400. And she finally, after 22 years of trying, won the 100.
Wow. That's a wide range.
No, that's what I thought. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Good shout out.
Yeah. So that's my shout out. She won 5 gold medals at the para athletics. And then you just mentioned too, Cricket World Cup.
Cricket World Cup.
It's a big
$13.8 million prize purse.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And here, the craziest part of the $13.8 million in US dollars prize purse is it is more than the men got the last World Cup like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They'll get that much the next one because they're equaling it. It's also the last women's World Cup was like 3 million.
Oh, wow.
They didn't up it like a little bit. They were just like, fuck it, we're all in.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, good for them. And honestly, cricket's a huge sport, even though in North America, we don't always appreciate that. But cricket really is a giant sport for men and for women.
That's why
across
I think
the globe,
they wanted to go all in on this. And the quote from like the head of the ICC was like, well, if you don't support them equally, like they're not going to feel equal. You have to. And a part of me was like,
wow, I appreciate the logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Amazing.
But it is happening in India right now. It's an interesting sport because like you said, it's not big in North America. It's like the second biggest sport in the world though. And it's such a range. Like you have Bangladesh playing England. Like those are like very different countries.
Right.
Size wise, economic wise, like.
Yes.
But they're equally, I mean, England's probably going to win, but they're both very good. You just have such a range.
I bet there's a lot of kids that play cricket though in Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
Like the depth of the pool, you know, that's just a guess. I don't have
we apparently have like some kind of alarm going on behind outside. But yeah, so it's happening in India, which is also a huge cricket country. But here's what's fascinating because Pakistan and India, things are breaking down.
Okay.
Politically,
it's up and down over the years.
So it's down right now.
Okay.
So all Pakistan games are going to be played at a neutral location in Sri Lanka.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Including potentially the final.
The Pakistan games against India?
No,
or
against
all
like
the games that Pakistan, because the Pakistani team doesn't want to come to India?
Yeah, because there's like worried about crowds and stuff. So there's a neutral location in Sri Lanka.
Well, good on them for creating a neutral location.
I know. I just was like that.
First of all, but wow.
So
okay,
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the world, very big deal. Massive World Cup. I also understand, and this is in one of my cricket fashion from inspired by cricket.
Yeah.
Coming next. Like, you know how there's been like sports fashion's been like sports inspired fashion's been the thing lately, running.
Of course. And especially with women's sports rising, basketball. Absolutely.
So apparently the next like I'm gesturing on the edge brands.
I'm so glad that you said this because now I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to be on the forefront of cricket related fashion. Yeah.
Who knew?
I didn't know it was coming, but now I can set my Instagram algorithm appropriately.
I follow a few like women's sports, fashion, time sports type things. And they were letting me know.
Right.
So.
Oh, cool.
And then the last thing from this week, I feel like we're like opposite end of the spectrum. We're like sports that the whole rest of the world cares about, but not the US.
Yeah.
And then we're like sports the US cares about and no one else. Basketball.
The WNBA. Oh my gosh. We didn't talk about this last week. I don't know what it happened.
It hadn't quite So last week, we obviously heard from the new Tempo president about Canada's team.
Yes.
We talked about where the finals were at then. Now the Aces are winning by 2, which separately is like kind of wild to me. But the big news this whole week was Napheesa Collier just like scorched earth, went
Right.
all in. But I think it happened after we recorded last week, so we didn't talk
I think
about
it did shortly after, because what
Yeah.
I find funny is sometimes, you and I are criticized for the way that we speak publicly about like some of the things we disagree with
In our
Ironman
sports,
in our
yeah.
sport. But oh my God, Napheesa Collier just like full scorched earth. I couldn't even, I rewatched the clip just now as we were prepping for this. And I was like, I'm just going to write down one quote from what she said. That would be, and it wasn't, it was just like 3 minutes of like, burn, burn, burn.
So if you haven't watched this, Napheesa Collier may be kind of like one of the most well-respected WNBA players.
Mhm.
She is the vice president of the Players Association, like the union. She is a pick for MVP for this year. She's just been around. Like everyone respects her. And she came out for her end of season interview after they got knocked out with this statement. It was just like, the league is great. Our leadership is the worst thing ever in the world. They are letting us down. The product is amazing. The fans are amazing. Everyone who's in charge needs to be fired. She was like, last time I met with Kathy, who's the commissioner, she told me we should be grateful. We should be on our knees.
Oh yeah.
It was
wild. This is what I wrote down. In the end, this is what I chose to write down. Year after year, the only thing that remains consistent is the lack of accountability from our leaders.
She said they were the worst leadership in sports.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we have had, yes, some situations where leadership in some of our sports has not been happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just picturing doing that.
I mean, sometimes as much as we talk,
we don't do that.
We don't, like, not even close.
And the other thing though was every goddamn athlete backed her.
Right.
Like even Caitlin Clark, guys, like everyone has backed her.
Yes.
And been like I think Queen Fee was trending on Twitter. So, and if you had to pick, so part of this is that they're going to CBA negotiations. If you had to pick right now who's going to lose their job, it is definitely the WNBA commissioner. Like where the power is.
So. Okay.
Like where the tone is shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's with the players right now.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got distracted because we are in Kona.
We're in Kona at the Ironman World Championship. If you're watching on YouTube,
you can see the sunset.
Where the sunset is coming, and it's not going to beat us.
The sun? The sun's not going to beat us.
The sun will wait for us.
We are if you want to know everything about the last all-women's Ironman World Championship, we have a daily podcast going out on the Feisty Triathlon feed. We will next week on this episode, we will have interviews from all the podium. We will do a full coverage of it. We thought maybe not everyone wanted to know everything about triathlon, but it is a big deal. It is all women in Kona. If you've seen a triathlon, you've seen Kona, Hawaii.
Right. If you grew up and saw the NBC, as you're growing up, saw the NBC 1 hour special about the Hawaiian Ironman, this year it's all women.
So it's a big deal. They don't do the NBC special anymore, which is a shame because I used to watch it and see if I could see myself in the background.
One year they did a Canadian version and I was in it.
Oh.
Yeah. It was my moment to shine.
You're like, wow.
Yeah. I think I was the first Canadian that year. I was like, yes.
There's only one Canadian racing in the pro field this year. So
Tamara.
Yeah.
Pulling it for the team.
There you go. So that is why we are, if you are watching on YouTube, on an island. And we will have full coverage next week. There's a lot happening this weekend, though.
Mm-hmm.
We were also talking about going to Athlos, the all-women's track. And of course, we can't because we're here.
Yes.
But it is this weekend, too. The all-women's track meet in New York, happening for the second year in a row. It was like, I feel like it was very successful last year. I feel like it was a big event, splashy. Everyone I know who went loved it. They had Megan Thee Stallion perform.
Cool.
Naturally.
Yeah. I do love the connection between culture and sport that we're seeing everywhere that we've talked about already, that we're going to talk about some more. The cricket fashion, Megan Thee Stallion, I don't know what she did. She did
she performed
a couple. Well, yes, but a couple songs,
she didn't run.
5 songs, one song. She didn't run. What? at a track meet. That's cool.
Yeah, people were calling it a concert where our track meet broke out. So
love it.
So I do think, so people are very excited. Now there are a lot of big names kind of missing just because last year, I think coming off the Olympics, people had a little time and there weren't as many big meets. This year there's been Grand Slam track and the World Championship, Diamond League. And so there's more people injured. So you're missing Gabby Thomas, Melissa Jefferson Wooden, Sydney McLaughlin, Levrone.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there, which are all like big names. But I'm curious. There's this thing. I've told you this, like when the Valkyries came to the Bay Area, somebody on the radio was like, well, it doesn't matter how they do. And you're like, well, eventually it matters. So I'm like, in one level, it doesn't matter how people do at a Megan Thee Stallion concert. But at some point it will, right? Like at some point.
Yeah, definitely. So you want the big stars there. Well, yeah, I think it will. It'll evolve. It's just the second year. So
next year they're going to like a team model.
Yes, I saw that.
Multiple events.
Right. How does that work, Kelly? Who
knows?
Oh, we don't know.
No, they haven't announced all the details.
Okay.
But I believe like they said it was athlete driven because they do have like Gabby Thomas is on and like Tara Woodall Davis are on the board. So they're helping kind of like with their recommendation, right? Like their suggestions. Right. They're gonna have multiple events next year, so it won't just be in New York. They're expanding. And then I think they'll have like points for the season is the kind of idea, right? Because people
I think like, it's a series, right?
Yeah, like we were saying before, like putting all your eggs in one basket is never right. Like athletes don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like track athletes have a lot of baskets right now.
A lot of baskets.
Yes, we like it. We love when women's sports have lots of baskets.
My favorite thing about Athlos is a little bit of a jab. They just got announced this week a sponsorship by a instant cash payment app. So that athletes will get paid immediately.
Yeah. And
which is a little like if you've been following, and I know we talked about it, the Grand Slam track where athletes are still owed like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a
right. It's a little dig. And like Alexis Ohanian even made a point of saying, well, last year they got paid 3 days after, and that wasn't soon enough. It's like, okay. I've never been. How do they even get the drugs testing?
They're not. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because that's obviously if you're used to pro sports, like you have to wait for drug testing.
Usually the delay on payments has to do with the doping control.
So, but I thought it was funny. So we'll see how it goes this week. It will be on ION if you're in the US. They are broadcasting on ION. So you can watch it. If you're in New York, you can get tickets to the concert. I'm sure they announce like more and more things all week.
You're calling it a concert. Tickets to the concert. Yeah, obviously.
They do a lot. They basically did a lot of things though, kind of last year that were to make it like an experience, to make it fun and exciting. So. The other big event this weekend.
Red Bull? Are we going there?
Rampage.
Red Bull Rampage, which honestly is a really, really cool event. I went from knowing very little about it to the last couple of years because they just added women
last year.
Right? Last year. That was the first year. We actually had a reporter there for Feisty who did some really fun video for us. But I knew nothing about it. And I learned that like the riders themselves and their teams go out and create their own path.
They call it a line.
Line. I'm just making Red Bull Rampage more accessible. So feel free to use any language. they like build their own line, like basically riding off a cliff is essentially what it looks like to me.
It's definitely right. Like if you've seen like the reason we've talked all year about kind of like how people have this idea in their head about mountain biking that's like much more intimidating than mountain biking actually is. This is that thing. This is the like I'm gonna ride off a cliff.
Yeah. Yes. It's incredible having seen it and understanding what it is.
Yeah. And so last year was the first year they had women, kind of the whole usual like women. Well, they're just the same reason they couldn't surf Mavericks forever, where it's like, well, they're just not good enough. It's safety.
Right.
But then they got rid of the development events. There used to be a Red Bull all women's development event kind of to like build up those skill sets.
Yeah.
And they got rid of that. And then there was like this. And so then women who advocate in the space were pushing and pushing and pushing. And finally they got it this year. And I can understand the like crying when they finally got it.
Right.
It's very dramatic. And now they're doing it again this year.
Yeah.
You can watch it on Red Bull YouTube, on Red Bull TV tomorrow, Thursday.
Right.
Very exciting.
Cool.
But first, we was gonna say we should talk to our colleague Catherine Taylor was at Rome Fest, which is a big women's mountain bike festival. And so that's why the sound's not great because it was out in the desert, but has a great interview with Chelsea Kimball, who was one of the riders last year and is one of the riders this year.
All right, I am in the Rome Fest Expo, and I've chased down Chelsea Kimball, who I've been kind of stalking all weekend, I'm going to be honest with you, because you are such a... I'm just going to say, you're such a badass. Okay, so you participated in the first ever women's Red Bull Rampage last year. And are you going back this year? Are you participating again this year? Okay. I've probably watched your video and showed your video like so many times to people of you like getting back up and climbing back up that cliff and then finishing your run. That was just so crazy. But for our audience that might not be as familiar with Red Bull Rampage, especially on the Feist podcast, which is our women's sports podcast, tell us a little bit about what Red Bull Rampage is and like how what the story is like with the women riding it and how last year happened and why it was such a big deal, I guess is what I'm asking.
Okay, so Red Bull Rampage is pretty much the most prestigious mountain bike event in the world. It is not a race. It is a competition in the category we call free ride, which is athletes hitting big jumps and big drops. And when I say big, I mean like the size of 2 or 3 buildings and jumps that are 60 or 70 feet long. And it's down the side of a mountain. It's unique because athletes build their own lines. Everything that's ridden at Rampage is built by the athletes and their teams. The event is viewed by millions of people. The big sponsor is Red Bull. The first year it happened, I believe, was 2001. So it's been around for a long time. And there has always been only one category. Women were never excluded from Rampage, but there has never been a separate women's category before. And so last year, 2024, was the first time there was ever a women's specific category for Rampage. It was really controversial because a lot of people's argument is that Rampage is supposed to be the best rider in the world, regardless of gender. But all of us women athletes and just the women's community of mountain biking teamed up, and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed and we practiced and we rode our bikes, and we pushed for this women's category to happen. And the organizers of the event finally agreed and made it happen last year. It was awesome.
That's awesome. So do you think like women and men have different skill sets there, or is the riding different? I just don't know enough about free riding to know like physiologically, is it different for men and women?
I cannot speak physiologically because I'm not a scientist. But I would say that the level of the male athletes right now is much higher than the female athletes, not in the respect of basic skills, because we can all hit the same features. What sets us apart is the tricks that the men are doing versus the tricks that the women are doing. Last year, Robin Gooms won Rampage. She did 2 beautiful backflips in her run, and she was the only woman to backflip. For the men, a backflip is like a basic trick for them to do. The men are doing double backflips and cork 720s or cash rolls or front flips and 360s off of massive drops. So the level of riding between men and women right now still has a pretty large gap.
Yeah. And that takes time to catch up, right? When women have been excluded from something, it takes time for them to catch up to that same level of being able to do things.
I would say that women have never been excluded, in my opinion. But yeah, there's a huge skill gap between men and women. For whatever reason, we've just kind of gotten a more later start in the sport, and we're trying really hard to progress quickly. And you can see in slopestyle right now, watching Joyride and seeing Alma Wigberg throw backflip bar spins and doing perfect 360s. Like, the level of the women right now is progressing so quickly. It's really impressive.
That's amazing. So there's now a women's category and a men's category at Rampage. Is that correct then?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then you got to ride the first event last year. There were 7 women?
8 women.
8 women?
8 women at the start of the event, but Camille Nogueira crashed in practice and was not able to compete.
And when you talk about practice, like for you all, you're out there, you have to build all the lines. And so I think people don't realize how physical this is because it looks like you just throw yourself down a mountain, but you have to climb up the mountain with your bike as well.
Yeah, well, the practice days we're carrying our bike, or a lot of times the dig teams help us carry our bike. Luckily for the last day of practice and for the competition day, the event of Rampage organizes volunteers to help carry our bikes up, which is like so appreciated.
Yeah. And it's very like you have to go at the right time for the wind. Like that's a key factor in your runs. Is that correct?
Yeah, ideally you go at the right time, but once your name is announced and they start your time, you have 10 minutes that you can drop. And if you wait longer than that 10 minutes, then you forfeit your run.
Okay. This is all really fascinating, all the things around it. Are there other rampages, like the same style events around the world?
No, Rampage is a one and only unique event in the world.
So what's the path to getting to that?
The path to getting to Rampage is kind of like each rider takes their own path. It's whatever you determine. If you have your eyes set on Rampage, then really it takes a video submission.
Okay.
It takes a video submission and getting the panel of, I believe, 7 people to approve your video and say that you can ride Rampage.
Wow. All right. Okay, well, I wanted to ask you about your run, and I'm sure you've talked about it a lot, but so it's not uncommon, I think, for people to crash or not make a feature on these events. Mm-hmm. And you basically were dangling off a cliff and pulled yourself back up and finished a run. And what's the mindset that you're like, no, I'm getting up and finishing this? Like, tell us a little bit about that mindset, or what was,
to me, it wasn't like, to me, there was no thought that went into it. Yeah. I was just finishing my run. Yeah. Just like riding down a trail, like you get up and you keep riding. Yeah. I just wanted a top to bottom run so bad. I didn't get it clean, but I still got it. It was like, yeah, I had to do it. There was no other option. There was no other possibility in my mind.
Yeah. Well, it was really inspiring to watch you on that, and just like, you just didn't even seem fazed. It was like, I'm going to finish this no matter what.
Yeah, 100%.
And the other thing I loved was the community of women cheering at the bottom. It just seemed like there was a real excitement. And I've been at the Tour de France Femmes, and seeing that community and then seeing this, it just felt like a special moment of the women's community there. Was it like that there?
Yeah, there were so many ladies there cheering us on. It was so awesome. I'm hoping this year they sell more tickets, because the women's event sold out last year, but there really weren't that many people there. So I'm really hoping that this year they sell a lot of, create more tickets to sell so that we can have more people there watching.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Okay, last question. What is your hope for the future for women in this sport?
I'd say my biggest hope is that we can continue this. I've noticed and heard from other people in other sports like motocross, and I don't have any others on the top of my mind, but some other sports, there has been events at the elite highest level of sport, but then there weren't enough athletes to fill a full roster. And I think for women in Rampage, the only way that we can keep it going is if there's enough women. So right now there's enough women, but we gotta keep inspiring the younger generations and keep encouraging them to push themselves in hopes of keeping this going.
Yeah. All right. Well, you are definitely inspiring the younger, all 8 of you, 7 of you that were out there. And we can't wait to watch you this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, like I mentioned before, obviously they did have these skill camps that were all women's for a couple years. Mm-hmm. One of them was called Formation. There's this big effort to kind of increase women's skills because they just hadn't had the support, the place, the space, the it takes I could not go out and be like, I'm going to try a backflip just because I have the confidence. You have to learn and build up to that. Yeah, and so they were kind of in that universe doing a lot to teach, to help women grow those skills. And now they kind of have access. My understanding is they are growing at a very, the rate has accelerated.
Of course it has. Yeah. I thought that Chelsea's perspective was really interesting in terms of getting, and I feel like it's one of those times too, when a sport has always been a certain way, it sounds like the ethos has always been open to everyone, and that's the category. But in reality, that's meant basically 0 women. So the creation of a women's category allows for a development stream for women and women to be able to make goals. And I think that that's very important, but it's just one of those cases, I think, where when you come from a sport that has a certain thought process around who deserves to be at something like a Red Bull Rampage, then you kind of that's what you've been kind
You
of
just
brought up
absorb
in the
it,
sport in. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very much a fan of having now known about Red Bull Rampage for 2 years. I am very much a fan of like having a women's, having a women's category and allowing women to like grow into that kind of sport, because we know there are women who want to ride
Not me.
ride off cliffs. Yeah. Not in this room.
Not in this room,
particularly.
but
yes,
they exist out there
for sure.
and they should be able to. I also thought it was interesting. She said that they should sell more tickets because they sold out.
That was interesting. And then I remember seeing the footage of where the spectators were and stuff, and they're just kind of outside.
They're out in the desert, standing in the wind.
Yeah.
It was very windy last year.
So I don't know why there's a limited number of tickets.
But it made me think, because there's been a lot of studies about this huge market for women's sports. And there was a big study last week, kind of out of the Collective, which is a subset of Wasserman, about the spending power of female sports fans. And they're talking not about necessarily about fans just of women's sports. They're talking about women who are fans of sports.
Yes.
Period.
Women sports fans.
Women sports fans.
Yes.
And it's this thing where like women control 75% of like discretionary spending in the world, and 72% of women in the world consider themselves sports fans. And even when you talk about sports spending purchases, 50% of the women they surveyed said they are the primary decision maker for sports spending purchases, like what events, what's games, what things. And yet the majority of women were like, brands, companies, leagues are not serving me.
Right. Like did you feel this when you were reading the study that like, oh yeah, they've nailed this? I mean, obviously it was a study, but I feel like I'm like clearly in their in the demographic. Right. Like I feel I'm a fan of sports. I'm a bigger fan of sports now that women's sports are growing. Sure. And there's not a ton out there for me. And I don't love the old male model of how sports fandom works. And I think I completely agree with the actual statistics,
with the numbers,
the people who did the studies. that like there's a massive opportunity here to serve women better and to create different it's not just about, I don't think it's just about like merch and stuff to buy, but I think it's about like experiences. It's partially about that. Yeah. It's about experiences. I think it's about creating connection spaces outside of the stadium, which is something that they mentioned. Or I was thinking when I was reading, and I was thinking about Isabelle Chevalier talking about the Montreal Roses and how they were doing like espresso raves before the game started, or how they had thought about how they were selling food, for example, selling more different types of food, different cuisines, or things like salads, more variation in the drinks you could buy, like special cocktails or non-alcoholic beverages, like all of these things that they had thought through to create an experience for the women fans, which I very much was like, yeah, that's cool. Like I want to go to an espresso rave.
Part of me is always like, I'm sure there are men who would also like that.
Of course.
I think to a degree, the male sports fan experience is very monolithic, and it has been shoved down people's throats, and they have to do what they have been told they like. But there are probably, and this is like obviously like just people I know in my people who would like more types of cuisine at basketball games. Yeah. More types of merch. So the other thing though that is super true with female sports fans, and I'm sure is also increasingly true with younger male sports fans, is there was like 91% of them think that sports brands should support social causes, which is obviously a very broad term, but like it's the whole like stand for something.
Yeah.
They don't like, and that, I mean, we know that's true. We see it all the time in our audience and in our fans. And it just is, right? It's just like, and you can't like go back, like don't change with the fucking wind, right? You can't be like, oh, we support this thing right now because it's cool, and then we're gonna change our minds. Like stand for something, and then you have to stand for it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, well said. I like some of these bullet points like that I wrote down.
Oh, okay. You just want to share them.
Like around the sponsorships and how you choose sponsorships, like sponsorships that serve certain demographics, like that make products that make life easier for moms, for example. Like this family orientation, of course, came largely out of the study. But then you had, that was like 50% of the women in the study. Then there was another 50% that were not moms and not family focused, and you have to serve them too, right? I think we've been talking about culture and sport and lifestyle and, that stuff. Like, I feel like that stuff with women's sports is really important too. So those kind of like lifestyle brands.
They are underestimating too. I think your point about moms there, we know, and we've talked before about how like generational fandom is built, and it's built by like, well, I always went with my dad to tailgate at the Packers game. And now we're getting to this point where like whatever it was a huge percent of moms have played sports, and they are then determining the generational.
Right.
Like my husband was laughing that I care way more about the WNBA than I ever paid attention to the NBA.
Right.
And so like, what's my kid going to go to? Definitely one of those games, right?
Yes.
So like they are underestimating that value.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. So I do think, and I think a lot about kind of the spaces that we're creating for, like, I do remember at the ESPNW conference in Toronto, there were a couple entrepreneurs up there who have they've created a fandom space in Toronto, and people said, oh, and I forget what it's called right now, so I'm sorry, but people said, oh, your model will never work because people don't want to buy shoes and hang out and have coffee in the same place and watch sports, right?
Sure.
And actually women do. Like,
I don't, to be totally fair, but
you're not in that part of the demographic.
I sometimes when people make these broad generalizations about women, I'm always like, ooh, I don't want to do that.
But do you not think that there's like
there's a market for that?
It's not 100%. Just a sports bar
Yeah.
that serves that watching community. Like it's also, it could be a cafe, or it also could be a shop, or it could be somewhere where you're actually physically doing something and have sports on, or could do a workout and then sit down and have your coffee and watch the WNBA game. Like, I think that there's going to be more spaces like that emerge all the time.
For sure. So we'll see what happens. Cough, Iron Man, listen. All right. As we wrap up here, Sarah, who are your feisty picks of the week?
Okay, I have a good one this week.
Oh yeah.
In the past few weeks, I've picked something that we already talked about.
Well, yeah. Okay, so I was gonna pick something we already talked about.
Okay, you do that.
Okay, I gotta say, Napheesa Collier is my pick for the week because I am in a burn it down mood, and I feel like she is my new icon.
Yes.
So.
Exactly. Okay, Ilona Maher Barbie. I saw this for the first time last night on this Barbie doll. So at first I saw it and I was like, my brain was honestly just confused.
Oh,
like I thought it was just like an AI generated like Ilona Maher Barbie. And then but the reason I was confused, not that Ilona Maher can't be a Barbie, but just that like, how do they turn what is like the stereotypical body shape of Barbie, this like long, thin, like, we've all heard this thing about like how the real Barbie couldn't stand up because her boobs are too big and her feet are too small. Like, how did they turn that into like this strong, iconic rugby player? Well, turns out the Barbie is like ripped.
There you go.
Like this Barbie's arms are incredible. So I love that they actually physically kind of changed the Barbie.
It was actually 4 rugby players.
Oh, cool. 4
rugby players that they made Barbies for. There's an England player, the iconic one if you watch the World Rugby Cup that was all over the place. So they're expanding their athlete line.
Rugby Barbie. I'm so here for Rugby Barbie.
Perfect. All right. Next week we will have lots of interviews from the Ironman Women's. Don't call it Ironman Women's World Championship.
The Iron Women World Championship.
And all the news. And stay tuned.